With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I hope you had a great weekend. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, well. I should begin by wishing the President of the United States a happy birthday. He is 81. He is roughly 60 years older than the youngest voters who will be voting for him, and they don't like him. There is, y'all. Oh, let's just be frank here. There's no way to put a nice bow around this for the Democrats. Y'all are in trouble if you're a Democrat. Let me just give you, this is from the Fox News poll. Republicans are up 24% on border security, up 20% on national security, up 18% on terrorism, up 12% on inflation, up 12% on foreign policy, up 12% on crime, and up 11% on government spending. Hello. That's not good. On top of that, President Biden in the NBC News poll, he is cratering towards historic lows for a presidential reelection. His polling average now, and again, you can't take much from the individual polls because they're wobbly, but the polling average, you can get an idea of where things are, and it's worse than Jimmy Carter. It's horrible for Joe Biden. In the NBC News poll, he's at 40%. The erosion for Biden is most pronounced among Democrats, a majority of whom believe Israel has gone too far in its military action in Gaza, and among voters 18 to 34, with a whopping 70% of them disapproving of Biden's handling of the war. Failed promises, student loans, foreign policy in general, said Democrat Zico Shell, 23 of San Diego, when asked why he disapproves of Biden's performance. Joe Biden is at a uniquely low point in his presidency, and a significant part of this, especially within the Biden coalition, is due to how Americans are viewing his foreign policy actions, says Democratic pollster Jeff Horowitz of Hart Research Associates, who conducted the poll along with Republican pollster Bill McInturff of Public Opinion Strategies. McInturff says he can't recall another time when foreign affairs not involving U.S. troops transformed the American political landscape. There is caution here for the Republicans, but by the way, you should know in the Harvard-Harris polling and the NBC poll and the Fox poll, Joe Biden loses to every Republican. The further you get from Trump, the better he does, or the better the Republican does. He loses to Trump. He loses more to DeSantis. He loses even more to Nikki Haley. It's remarkable how bad it is for Joe Biden. There is a problem, however, for the Republicans. When pushed, Democratic voters who are mad at Joe Biden stomping their feet and saying, I'll never vote for that SOB. Look what he's done in Israel, or not done in Israel. When Donald Trump is the Republican nominee, they begin to come back to him. Trump radicalizes the left more than the right. Joe Biden is radicalizing everyone at this point, though, and that's part of the problem for him. But it's not just this. Ron Klain is there's a problem. So there was a political panel behind the scenes of Democrats. Let me just read you this. This is from the Washington Post, the Hamas-backed Washington Post. Over the last full weekend of September, Hollywood titan Ari Emanuel, brother of former Chicago mayor and current Japan ambassador Rahm Emanuel, co-hosted his annual off-the-record power conference, gathering fellow luminaries of entertainment, finance, politics, and technology in sun-dappled Aspen, Colorado. At one point, during a political panel that included Ron Klain, President Biden's former chief of staff, an audience member worried aloud that the Democratic Party had a serious problem. Biden is too old and could lose the election, this person fretted, before asking the question that has been disquieting Democratic circles for more than a year. What is the backup plan? Klain's rebuttal was swift, recalled one attendee, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to share candid details. The president is the party's nominee, Klain said, and a strong nominee at that. There is no backup plan. The audience rumbled with exasperation and disbelief, grumbling about the lack of a plan B. Now, you should know Democrats are big fans of plan B if you can get it over the counter. Some Democrats later approached Klain to thank him for his forceful defense of Biden, said a second person. Similar scenes are playing out all over. They are mad at David Axelrod. Now, you should know, I know David Axelrod. I've been to David Axelrod's home. He invited me to speak up at the University of Chicago a while back. We may disagree on a lot, but David Axelrod is not an a-hole. Yet that is what Joe Biden has taken to referring to David Axelrod as, because Axelrod had the temerity to look at all the polling and say, Democrats, the polls aren't wrong. You need to come up with another scenario. Maybe Joe Biden needs to step aside. And the Democrats are having none of it. None. They're beginning to have the meltdown within the Democratic Party that we always knew was coming right in time for Joe Biden's 81st birthday. Look, here's the problem. Just bottom line problem here. The presidency of the United States sucks the life out of every occupant. Look at the before and after pictures. The only guy who didn't age in office was Donald Trump, which, according to his critics, just shows you how light he was in office and relied on all the other serious people. Mike Pence aged in the vice presidency. You want to know who shouldered a lot of the burdens of the Trump White House? Probably Mike Pence is the one who aged. But George Bush, before and after, aged. Barack Obama aged. Bill Clinton aged. All of them, they age. It's a high-stress 24/7 job. There's no off switch for the presidency. You can't abdicate your position unless you go in for surgery under anesthesia and you pass the buck to the vice president. Otherwise, you are the president of the United States 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and then in the year you're running for re-election, 366. You age. And when you are as old as Joe Biden already, you age like the dude who drank from the wrong cup in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And he's there. And everybody knows it. The Democrats know it. Even the Biden White House staff behind the scenes, they start talking about it's not that he's lost the skip in the step, it's that he can't skip at all without falling over. He's got to stay on script. When he goes off script, he goes creepy. Joe Biden this weekend was confronted with a little kid and told her he liked her ears. And then told a group of kids that he wanted to hang out with them instead of hanging out with the adults. Oh, I bet so, creepy Joe. Want to sniff anybody's hair today? They can't let him go off script. Last week, he went off script. You had Anthony Blinken having heart palpitations while Joe Biden started talking about Xi Jinping as a dictator. Good for Biden for that. But the staff can't let him go off script. He's 81 years old. It's time for Joe Biden to retire. I suspect his wife's afraid he'll kill over dead if he slows down. She doesn't want him to slow down. But at some point, this really is elder abuse. What's notable is the Democratic response is to instead make it about Trump. Well, you know, he's old too. In fact, if Donald Trump gets elected, he'll be the same age Biden was, and he'll age the same way Biden did. Are you really sure you want someone that old? Look, he's already missing a step. He referred to Barack Obama as president the other day. He said he'd get Bagram Air Force Base back from the Taliban. I thought he wanted to withdraw from Afghanistan. Now he wants to do a trade deal with the Taliban and get an Air Force Base in Afghanistan. What's up with this guy? He's a little off kilter. He's a little off the rock. It doesn't really help you, though, when you're Joe Biden to make the case that Donald Trump, yes, they're both old. One is older than the other. But see, the polling for the public suggests they don't hold Trump's age against him, if only because they don't see him as often. See, Trump can run a in-your-basement campaign in 2024 like Biden did in 2020 and make Biden be the one out on the campaign trail. After all, he's the incumbent president of the United States. Trump can play it safe. It doesn't translate the criticisms of the president to Trump. They don't translate because Joe Biden is president. He wanted to be president. And his polling is cratering. He's losing young people. He's losing old people. He's beginning to lose black people. The younger you are as a black American, the more likely you are to think about voting Republican, which is a staggering bit of data. But the data is holding up across polling. Younger Democrats benefited from Donald Trump's economy, and they remember it. Now, to be sure, the GOP can screw it all up. Don't get overconfident. Republicans have a masterful way of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. There are a lot of concerns about how Donald Trump mobilizes non-Republican voters. Donald Trump, it is true, you just need to acknowledge it, Donald Trump incites progressive voters. Those who hate Joe Biden might just turn out to stop Donald Trump, so they'll come back. So you have to take the polling with a grain of salt there. They're tied within the margin of error. Donald Trump slightly ahead in most of the polling. Every other Republican blows Joe Biden out of the water. You have to be concerned about events. Events change things. There could be a rally around the flag moment, but there's a problem for Joe Biden that gets into this. Republicans lead by 20 on national security, 24 on border security, 18 on terrorism. If you do have sleeper cells in this country that have crossed the border that lash out at this country, Joe Biden is going to bear the burden of the blame, and so will the Democrats, by the way. There's no getting out of this. If bad people have come across our border and they do something bad, the Democrats, not just Joe Biden, own it because they refuse to secure the border. The Republicans are connected with border security, and the Democrats are connected with open borders. Events can go either way in the coming year. If you're a Republican and your frontrunner is tied with Joe Biden, and Biden is historically unpopular, why would you go with your frontrunner when every single other person beats him handily? If you're a Democrat and you're historically unpopular and tied with Donald Trump, who you hate, why wouldn't you jump ship to someone else? Both parties have decided to subject the American public to politics by proctology. No one wants either of these men to be president of the United States, other than the hardcore of the bases. People would rather have a colonoscopy and a root canal at the same time without anesthesia than relive Biden-Trump, but the parties are insistent on doing so. The problem here, what makes this so interesting to me as just a student of politics, is that you could have a historically low turnout because of that. And who knows who will win? It depends on the passions of the bases in that case. What I do know is that if you have a Biden versus Trump 2024 race, it will probably be the nastiest election in American history, as both sides do nothing but pour out good old-fashioned hate on the other side. Both parties have something to consider there. But in the meantime, happy birthday, Joe Biden. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Be patient with me. I'll get to your phone calls here in a minute. Argentina has a new president. The right-wing libertarian candidate. According to the Washington Post, I love the headline, Argentina set for sharp right turn as Trump-like radical wins the presidency. He's an admirer of Donald Trump and a libertarian. Javier Milei, a 53-year-old economist, former television pundit with no governing experience, claimed 56% of the vote. Okay, let me break this down for you very succinctly here. The American media is making the new president-elect of Argentina out to be some far-right, inexperienced, Trump-level existential threat to Argentina. What you need to understand is that Argentina's existing government establishment and those who have been in government forever have completely screwed up that country's economy. More than 40% of Argentina's population now lives beneath the poverty line. Argentina's inflation is at 140% year over year. This is with the experts in charge. This is with the government hands in charge. And so the Argentinian people have decided to bring in a libertarian free market economist who's never operated government before to try to do something. And why shouldn't they? The people with the experience and the elites have failed Argentina. And the press is making this out to be terrible. How dare you bring in an inexperienced, non-elite libertarian who likes Donald Trump? How much worse can the guy screw up than what the government elite have already screwed up? It's inflation's 140%. 40% of Argentina now lives beneath the poverty line. That's a major screw up of the people who had the competence and experience to fix government, and they didn't. One of his first acts, by the way, is to move the Argentinian embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in Israel, and he's planning drastic cuts to the Argentinian government to shut down inflation. Give the guy a chance. The people who had the expertise all screwed it up. So maybe let this guy with some out-of-the-box thinking try. Never mind my hatred of, or my favorite Margaret Thatcher quote. We'll get to that later. Right now, I got to tell you about this country. You got enough economic mess in this country. 10 regional banks have had their credit downgraded. Now, you got the bank in Iowa. What was the Farmers Bank? You've still got inflation is still going up. It's not actually going down. Just the rate of inflation has slowed down. My friends at Swiss America are sounding the alarm about all of this, the secret war on cash, the all-out assault on our freedoms. With soaring interest rates squeezing the economy, with banks teetering on collapse, Swiss America can educate you on how to protect your hard-earned assets right now. You can get their report, The Secret War on Cash. Your copy's free by calling or texting 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. It's spreading daily. All you do to read The Secret War on Cash for free is you call or text my name to 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, or call or text my name to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates apply.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, prayers to the Carter family. Rosalind Carter has passed away at 96. President Carter been in hospice longer than she has, and well, I would suspect that that he is probably not much longer. There was a quote that he had said a while back. For me, as Rosalind and I approach our 75th wedding anniversary in July, my home is wherever she is, whether in South Georgia or South Sudan, holding her hand, reading our Bible together each night, falling asleep next to her. That's my home. God bless him. All right. I want to play you this clip from my buddy Ben Domenech. Ben was one of the original founders of Red State, brought me in back in the day. He was talking about the Republicans hating each other on Capitol Hill. Ben's now this editor-at-large for The Spectator.
New democracy. Ben, what on earth is happening here in D.C.? Is everyone going nuts?
Well, I think that what you're seeing is the ramifications of this type of clown show that's been going on for so long that things naturally have to escalate. You know, you knock off one speaker and everybody loses their mind.
Yes.
You know, I think this is one of those situations, though, where I'll actually defend a little bit of what's going on, because I think that what people are seeing is that these are people who genuinely dislike each other and haven't figured out a way to navigate through that in this particular moment. Everything is escalating. And look, when Mark Wayne stands up like that, you know, I've profiled the guy, you know, he has the universal sign of a guy who's actually ready to punch somebody because he reaches right for his wedding ring, which is, you know, for women, the equivalent of taking off your hoop earrings before you act. It means you're actually about to fight. And then when it comes to the Burchett McCarthy thing, I don't know if it was a security guy or what actually happened there, you know, in the jumble. But the point is, everyone's on edge. Everyone is absolutely on edge. And one of the reasons that they're on edge is because they're bouncing from chaotic CR moment to chaotic CR moment without any kind of resolution. The McCarthy experience of him getting vacated in no way loosened any of the energy that had been caught up in D.C. What you'd like to see happen is, you know, if there's a change, that somehow people can come together after it and actually have some unity and be able to work together, say, well, that was chaotic, but let's move on. And nobody's moving on. It's even more chaos.
We need some.
These people don't like each other. My buddy Chip Roy was on the floor of the House venting about what do the Republicans believe, what have they done. As most of you probably know, I was at one point in my life an elected Republican. Now, it was only on a city council. My wife, literally, I'm not making this up, my wife keeps a bag of Quikrete at our house. Says if I ever get the inkling to run for office again, I will be buried under the roses in the backyard with that Quikrete sealing my tomb. She's serious, and I'm scared of her. I did it. It was the worst job ever. I was only a part-time city councilman. You made $10,000 a year, and every single day you were dealing with stuff. I hated the job. I got in the arena. I managed to get in. I was one of only 2 Republicans on a 15-member city council, but had actually run the campaigns for a number of the Democratic members of council, gotten better people elected. And so I was the only one of the 2 Republicans to get a chairmanship of a committee, the Public Properties Committee. I was there for 3.5 years. I was also doing a job at CNN. I was working full time. Every person who had my particular seat was someone whose job activities interfered with being able to be on council. And when I got my radio show, my radio company told me I needed to go on and get off the city council because re-election was coming. I wasn't going to run again and open up that seat, and I did. You know, there's some troll on social media who circulates some article all the time about me, about how often I was gone and didn't have committee meetings. The problem was, this is one of the problems, is so my committee, the Public Properties Committee, was the second biggest committee, but it rarely had business. We oversaw the airport and a bunch of other stuff, and there was no reason to have a committee meeting for the sake of having a committee meeting, and I flat out refused. And then the local paper beat me up for not having committee meetings. Well, of course not. There's no reason to have a meeting if there's nothing to do. It was always so funny that, we need you there. You've got to be there. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. people who say such things have no understanding of the way government works. I will tell you this, though. I never knew what the Republican position on trash collection was. No one ever told me this is what Republicans believe on trash. There was conservative versus liberal. There was no Democrat position on trash collection. It was, should we privatize it or let the city run it? I was in favor of privatizing it. I will tell you this. I made a lot of people mad because there was an effort at the time to unionize the local police force. And so I filed a bill to shut the police department down and privatize it to outside security teams. Oh, they didn't like that, but I made my point and it killed the effort. I bring that up because I never knew what the Republican position on trash collection was. I knew what the conservative position was, but I knew what the Republican position was on taxes. And I knew what the Republican position was on crime. I knew stuff like that. But in Washington, D.C. these days, I have no idea what the hell the Republican Party stands for other than we hate Joe Biden and half of us love Donald Trump. And the other half says they do and they hate his guts. I mean, what do you actually stand for? What do you want to do? What is the prevailing idea to galvanize Republicans in Washington, D.C. on the Senate and the House side? Now, part of the problem here is an interesting dynamic in government that if you're on the outside of government, you may not understand this, but I'm not making this up. If you want to understand one of the fundamental problems and issues in government, you have to understand that Republicans in Washington, D.C. view the Democrats as their opponents and the other house in Congress as the enemy. So the Senate views the House as the enemy, the House views the Senate as the enemy, and both sides just view the other party as their opponents. If you understand that, you begin to understand Washington, D.C. Senate and House Republicans are oftentimes at odds, as are Senate and House Democrats. So both houses have to internally come up with ideas of what they want to do. Chip Roy, the congressman from Texas, went to the floor last week and just blasted the Republicans of tell me what we've done. Tell me what good we've done. Kevin McCarthy says, had I been there, I would have told him all the great things we've done. Really? What great things have you done besides fund government? And that's not a great thing. What have the Republicans done? Now, part of it is hard because they control one half of one branch of government. But what do they stand for? I don't really know what the GOP stands for. And I'm not talking about some contract with America sort of stuff. Just philosophically, what do the Republicans stand for right now? I think they're more divided than the Democrats. Put it to you this way. One of the things that's happening with pollsters right now, pollsters are trotting out all of these polls showing that Donald Trump is slightly ahead of Joe Biden. The problem is those polls are somewhat theoretical. When Donald Trump actually is the Republican nominee, the Democratic base that has drifted from Joe Biden will come back, and suddenly you'll see the polling increase for Joe Biden. When it's no longer theory, but it's actual reality, the progressives who hate Joe Biden will come back to him to stop Donald Trump because they view Donald Trump as an existential threat to democracy, so they will be unified in a way the Republicans never will be. I am willing to suggest to you that more progressives will unite around Joe Biden than conservatives will around Donald Trump in 2024. He's burned his bridges too much with some conservatives. Joe Biden's already factored into the equation. 4 more years of Joe Biden won't be any worse than these 4 years of Joe Biden for some Republicans. They'll convince themselves of that. But the problem for the Republicans is if it's not Trump, Trump supporters stay home. A house divided cannot stand, and the Republican House is way more divided than the Democrats' House. The Republicans have real problems. They simply do not like each other. You have conservatives who are legit conservatives, like my buddy Chip Roy. Chip Roy is the same today as he was 5 years ago. He believes the same things. No compromise before or after Trump. He was willing to speak out against Donald Trump and criticize him. He was willing to defend Donald Trump where he could find common ground with Donald Trump. There are some Republicans like Kevin McCarthy who have never, ever held a solid idea in his head that he's not willing to flip-flop on for a matter of convenience. There are moderate Republicans who are they're socially liberal, fiscally conservative. The sweet spot in American politics right now tends to be fiscally liberal, socially conservative, and there aren't a lot of Republicans in that sweet spot. There are some on the populist right, however, who are headed to that point. The GOP simply is incoherent as a party. And part of that is Donald Trump as leader is about Donald Trump. He's not about the party. He's not about the future. A lot of Republican presidential candidates think about the future. What should the country look like if I'm president? What policy should we advance? Donald Trump, whether you like him or you hate him, the reality is Donald Trump's about Donald Trump. He wants to be president of the United States. So that leaves the party ideologically rudderless. I mean, you've got a man who champions America first. And by the way, this isn't a criticism. This is just the reality. You got a man who champions America first. What does that look like? Well, the other day, I guess it was 2 days ago, he talked about buying an Air Force base back from the Taliban in Afghanistan. And people were like, what? There's an ideological incoherence because it's about a man. It's not about a cause. That's just true. But a lot of people love the man and love the fact that he will smash Washington, D.C., smash the establishment, tear up the Democrats, and tear up a lot of the Republicans. So they stick with him because they want the bull in the china shop. Democrats have more ideological coherence. You're beginning to hear about the split between the liberals and the progressives. What's the difference between a liberal and a progressive? About the only difference is that when you scratch a liberal, Nazism doesn't come out of their mouth. When you scratch a progressive, it does. But otherwise, they view the world the same way. It's like the fight between the Nazis and the communists. They're ideologically pretty much the exact same thing. So there's more ideological coherence on the left. And the left understands they have to have power to grow the government, to advance their climate change agenda, to advance their anti-Israel agenda, to advance their agenda to neuter the United States on the world stage. Republicans are divided between those who are isolationists, those who are neocons who want to fight everywhere, those who are realists who realize there are some places we have to fight. Republicans are divided on education. In Texas, it's Republicans who killed school choice in the state house, not Democrats. In Georgia, it's Republicans who are killing school choice on behalf of the teachers in Georgia, on behalf of the teachers unions and the school superintendents in South Georgia. Rural Republicans in Georgia and urban Republicans in Texas are conspiring to kill school choice. What does the GOP stand for? If you can't, as leaders, whether it's Greg Abbott in Texas or Brian Kemp in Georgia, convince these Republicans to vote for school choice, I mean, that's a winning issue for the GOP, popular with even black moms who otherwise vote Democrat. You got to find some way to leverage your power and political capital to push stuff like this. But in Washington, D.C., it's harder. Because if it's about Donald Trump, he doesn't want to spend his political capital to advance some cause he may not understand or believe in. Democrats have a president who's willing to expend his political capital right now for Israel against the base of his party that hates Israel. The Republicans simply hate each other right now. Winning will short that out. Winning will make them like each other, even if it's likability by convenience. But they haven't won enough to start liking each other again. They just distrust each other. And that fundamentally is a problem for them to be able to win. Because if you can't get on the same page and come up with an idea of what you all stand for, the voters can ferret that out. And they want to vote for someone who stands for something, not just against something else. And say what you will about the Democrats versus the Republicans, but the Democrats stand for some stuff. And the GOP, I couldn't tell you what good they've done in Washington, D.C. of late. Neither can my buddy Chip Roy. Neither can the Republican leaders in Congress, which is a pretty damning indictment on the state of the party right now. All right, I got to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, the 3-pack. You can get 3 of them for less than $200. You can save $200, and you get free shipping. All you do is go to EdenPureDeals.com, EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERICK, E-R-I-C-K. What is it? Well, it's an air purifier, and it's filterless. So it traps the dust, and it traps the pollen that's floating in the air. It also eliminates odors. So it eliminates smoke odors, litter box odors, general pet odors, cooking odors, musty odors. So I've used it in a rental car. You can plug it up with a USB cord, or you can plug it up directly into the wall. If you've had a rental car, someone smoked in it, or a hotel room, it'll wipe out those odors. It'll clean the air. It just works. You get 3 of them, one for upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your RV, your travel bag, wherever you need them. And those 3, you get them for less than $200. You're actually saving $200. Without this deal, you buy 3 of them individually, you are exceeding $300, $400 in cost. So you get 3 of them together for less than $200. You save $200, and you get free shipping. All you do, you go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K. On the front page of the site, you'll see a box for a discount code. You put in my name, Eric. You get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms for less than $200. EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code ERIC.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
This hour of the program is brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you're buying a building, buying a franchise, reach out to them, firstlibertyga.com. They might be able to help you, but what they really asked me to do is just remind you guys it's Thanksgiving week, and they wish you a happy Thanksgiving and hope that you have a list of things to be thankful for. They're certainly thankful for all of their customers, all the small businesses they've helped grow. So the Frost family, they're great Christians, and they just want you to remember it's Thanksgiving week, and they are thankful and hope you are too. Now, I got to tell you in that regard, if you haven't taken your turkey out of the freezer yet, you need to do it today. Don't leave it on the counter. Leave it in the refrigerator to thaw out, or put it in a sink filled with water and keep circulating the water so it's cold. Why? Because turkeys, like chickens, can give you salmonella, and you need to keep the turkey cold when it thaws out, because if it gets above about 40 degrees, salmonella can start spreading. Bacteria can grow. If it gets into 70-degree territory, you're really starting to allow bacteria to grow. Problem is, a turkey's so big, if you put it on the counter to let it thaw out and not in like cold water or in the refrigerator, by the time the center's thawed out, the exterior of the bird is covered with bacteria. You got to be careful. Thaw it out in the refrigerator or in cold water. But also, you do need to thaw it out completely, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of trouble cooking your turkey if the center of it's frozen. I will tell you, I may have to revise a recipe, because I was getting out my recipes to prepare for cooking my turkey. I'm like, this is so freaking complicated. I don't want to do this. I think I'm going to spatchcock my bird and just dry rub it and not brine it. I don't want to deal with a brine this year. So I'm just going to rub it with some salt lightly and sit it in the refrigerator for 24 hours before I smoke it and spatchcock it. So I cut the backbone out and flatten it out so the dark meat and the light meat come to temperature better. So I'm reading all these websites like the Washington Post, the New York Times cooking section, Food and Wine, and the Food Network, and they're all like, we're so bored of turkey recipes. Yes, find a turkey recipe that works for you and just do it that way. The one thing I am going to try differently this year that I've never done before, but I've read a ton on it, is I'm going to very lightly rub the bird in mayonnaise of all things. Why? No, it doesn't affect the flavor or the texture of the bird, because it eventually will fall off the bird in the smoker at the heat. However, what it does is it acts as an insulator to the bird so that moisture doesn't leak out. It's a moisture barrier, mayonnaise is. Not a insulator, it's a moisture barrier. So your bird stays even more juicy. Very light coating of mayonnaise in the seasonings. And of course, because it's oil, the seasonings dissolve. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but like your standard seasonings like garlic powder, cayenne pepper, stuff like that, they don't dissolve in water, they dissolve in oil. So you gotta, if you want to penetrate the bird with flavor, you gotta have a little bit of oily something on it. Anyway, that's it. Now, when we come back, we got to move on to what's happening overseas, because we're in a war and we're not acting like it.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.